Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of What's Your Issue, the E2KG Network's weekly podcast covering comic books. This is a comic book review show. Here with me, as always, I have Mr. Stephen Lora. How you doing, Stephen?
Doing good.
Good, good. And I am your other co-host for the evening, Agasicles, Stamas. As always, each and every week, Stephen and I get together and we talk about somewhere between 8 to 13 comic books. We go through 6 in pretty excruciating detail in our review segment at the top of the hour. Then we talk about the best thing that each of us read this particular week. We move on and talk about our honorable mentions, which can be honorable mentions for either good reasons or bad. And then we round out the podcast by discussing our pull list for the upcoming New Comic Book Day, which is generally 2 days after we record this issue. This is a spoiler cast. It is Monday night. It is 2 days before New Comic Book Day. We record tonight in the hopes and expectation that everybody has gotten through their stacks by this point and that nothing that we're going to discuss on tonight's episode will be a surprise to you. However, if for some reason you haven't completed reading your comics, then we strongly recommend that you go back and do so and then come back to listen up to what we have to talk about. This is issue number 21, covering the comics that shipped the 27th of February, 2019. We're going to start off tonight by talking about The Savage Sword of Conan, number 2. So the writer on this comic was Gary Dugan, artist Ron Garney, color artist Richard Isanove, and letterer Travis Lanham. This is the second comic, as far as I can remember, coming from Marvel, covering Conan. I had to kind of do a double take because I was like, I just read a Conan comic.
Making 2 series of him.
Right.
I noticed.
So, and the way I remember it from when I was a kid growing up reading these, Savage Sword was always kind of definitively the one about Conan as the barbarian, whereas the other Conan books would sometimes, would cover different eras with him as an adventurer and sometimes even as a king or as a warlord. Savage Sword was always him in the loincloth and always kind of at his most savage, as it is in this case. I'm trying to see who I remember who. And so one thing I want to mention, bravo for the comic book industry for getting Alex Ross. I don't know what's going on or what kind of deal he's under, but he is doing more covers now than I remember him doing.
I see that.
And he's doing them for, I know he's doing them for Marvel. I think he's doing some for DC as well.
Yeah, I've seen some for DC as well, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's trying to secure his retirement money or what's going on, but it's a good deal. And this is another one that has a Alex Ross cover. I really kind of like this art. This wasn't the best art that I saw this week as far as the art from Garney, but it is very hyper-specific to the Conan motif and was very good. The one thing that I didn't like about the art in this issue was I felt like the panel work didn't really do a whole heck of a lot. Everything was horizontal panels with the pretty straight stick 3 and 4 panel pages, with the exception of there is one with some verticals on it, but nothing as avant as I saw in some of the other books this week. Colors are pretty sharp, but it's a very brown book, and so there's not a ton of specular lighting and ambient lighting. And one, I mean, the story is good. I was a huge fan of Dugan's run on Daredevil, and he's really kind of one of the standout writers for me. This comic feels very much like it's trading a lot on the known history and mythology of Conan from the first movie. The key villain's name sounds not too far from Thulsa Doom, who was the character that James Earl Jones played in the first movie. There are some neat little scenes here. I like kind of the opening scene where he and his partner, I can't remember his name, Suri or something like that. I want to say it may have been something that sounds like Sully. But they traipse into this land that new unknown land, and they notice that the trees are burning but not the grass, and then they walk a little bit further and Conan's partner is still who's very talkative. Is kind of one of the comedic shticks in it. And Conan tells him to be silent and tells him these aren't trees. And then the camera zooms in on them, and they're actually bodies. So some pretty horrifying things, as would normally be the shtick for a Conan book. One of the things here that I do like is how the Conan in this book is more kind of street smart than a lot of the enemies that he runs into. In this case, they run into two beings that, left to your own design, you would think were demons or some type of evil sorcerer. Conan promptly snaps off a foot from one pile of the burning bodies and proceeds to beat these two men with a human body part. And then when he gets done, he tells them, I saw kind of like I saw through your disguise. You guys cut and mutilated yourselves to make yourselves appear as demons, but you're just men. So I thought that was pretty ingenious. One of the things that I don't like about this characterization of Conan is a lot of $3 words that like don't feel. I mean,
yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, Conan has always been smarter than you would think, but he's incredibly articulate in this. And I think like far beyond what you would expect for a man who is not very far from his barbarian origins. They throw a female character in here. I think her name is Menez or something like that, and again, she is very much kind of like Valeria was in the first movie. So it just feels, in fact, Dugan even has Garney do the scene from the movie. Again, the movie's very old, but there's a scene where Conan and Valeria and I can't remember there was an Asian actor that played Conan's partner in crime as well. And there's a scene where all of them kind of scale the outer wall of this rock tower, and that's like just kind of like a basic thieving skill. And if you remember your Dungeons and Dragons, like thieves always had this skill called climb walls. And they do the same thing here. So I just feel like in a lot of instances there's a lot of nostalgic callbacks to things that people who didn't even read the books of Conan but saw the movies would see. But it felt a little tired and worn, marginally. Overall, the book felt pretty smart, and at the end of the day, I rated the book a 7.0. Steven, did you read this comic?
Yeah, I just didn't like it either. I gave it like a 6.5.
Okay, so pretty close to mine, but
yeah, it's just I don't know. To me, it's just the character seems very non-existent. It's like you're right with he talks like in 3-letter words, and I mean he talks in very little sentences, and I don't know. It seems like the characteristics are not non-existent, and I'm getting a little disappointed with the Conan books because I don't even like the main Conan series, and it's just the regular Conan the Barbarian. I don't know. Jason Aaron's not doing it for me in that book either. It's just I was hoping, like, I was really hype about Conan coming to Marvel Comics, and now that the comic books are here, I read them and just not enjoying them as much. It's making me question if I actually enjoyed the movie back then because it was so long ago. So I'm not sure if it's still good as it is.
yeah, no. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to tell what. I mean, at Marvel, licensed properties, I don't necessarily think are supposed to do that much, right? They're kind of like they just need to earn like the basic money that they are. Nobody expects a blockbuster from a licensed comic. I mean, they really, with the Star Wars thing, they really kind of struck gold in a manner that was very unusual to what I think we're historically accustomed to seeing from Marvel from a licensed comic. So, I feel like, and I think I've been rating these books kind of in the same envelope. I feel like they're doing what they need to do. They're scratching the itch for certain people, I think, as genre comics, and they don't need to do that much.
Yeah.
But then again, I think maybe the Star Wars bit has kind of raised expectations a little bit from what we might be looking for from a licensed comic. You know, it's this issue was not a bad issue. It was, to me, it was a relatively tonally accurate Conan comic, with the exception that I felt he used in several instances, he used words that I'm like were too big for what I would expect a barbarian to use. So, all right, very cool. Second book in the rundown tonight is Daredevil number 2. And you read Daredevil number 1, correct?
Yeah, I read this one too. I had it on my full list.
I bypassed the first issue. I think it came out in a week where I had too many other things to read. I was very impressed with Chip Zdarsky coming off his run on Spectacular Spider-Man. And when this got announced, I went back and forth with him a couple times on Twitter, and I was very interested to see how this turned out. To me, in Spectacular, this was an atypical Zdarsky doing material a little more serious and a little more emotional than I'm accustomed to seeing him do historically. And I wasn't sure that Lightning was going to he has not been like my typical writer in the past when I've seen him. So I was very curious to see if there was the potential for Lightning to strike twice, and let me tell you, it is. So this,
I agree.
This is just an incredible issue. So the talent on it was writer Chip Zdarsky, artist was Mark Cicchetto, color Sonny Go, and letterer Clayton Cowles. Now Cicchetto is the artist that we most recently saw doing Old Man Hawkeye. And it's one thing I'll say about Marvel from an industry perspective is that I don't like the number resetting just because it's a new creative team. Like this story,
I noticed they do that.
Yeah, I mean, this story literally picks up like the issue after the last Daredevil run. I mean, there's no breaking continuity. There's no like resetting and starting over. This is exactly a continuation of the same last storyline. And I'm like, well, why are we renumbering it? So, at any rate, if you were on for the last run, Daredevil was severely injured and wound up basically, doing the old shtick of dying on the operating table for like a number of seconds. Now, I didn't read. Did you read the limited series that bridged between? Yeah,
I did read that.
Okay, so as I'm going through the situation, if there's anything pertinent in that, because I didn't read it.
He was just in a coma and he wakes up out of the coma. That's it. There's nothing else.
Okay, so it was just a way to sell more comics then. So
basically.
So this picks up with Daredevil still in New York. Wilson Fisk is still the mayor. But what happened in the first issue is a thug who Daredevil intervened and fought in the commission of a crime actually winds up dying. And the New York City Police Department is now holding Daredevil accountable for that individual's murder. There's a lot of Sturm und Drang in this issue about how much of an expert Matt Murdock is at knowing like exactly the right pressure to apply to different body parts and where exactly to throw his batons and all that kind of thing, so that he doesn't kill anyone. And what he's swimming through now is that no one believes him. Right, all of the evidence indicates that in his fight with this thug, that Daredevil is responsible for the person's death. Matt pops, into several places throughout the city, having a chance to observe people in their heart rates and gets out of them things that indicates that they are not lying. So he goes to see the doctor who had the thug on the operating table and pronounced him dead, and he can tell that he's not lying. He stops by when a pair of cops go to see Wilson Fisk, and he is close enough to hear hear the Kingpin's heartbeat, and he can tell that the Kingpin isn't lying. So, again, all evidence indicates that Matt did this. Now Matt is of the mind that somebody got to the thug in between when Matt left him and when he arrived at the hospital. The artwork in here is simply, bar none, the best artwork that I saw the entire week. The cover which is also this is Chichetto on the cover, right? I just want to make sure before
Yeah, I
no,
think it
actually
is.
it's a Julian Totino Tedesco,
Oh, okay.
who I'm not familiar with, but absolutely also the best cover that I
It
saw
looks very
this week.
similar.
It does. It's very similar to Chichetto's style. Um, but one of the things freaking like Chichetto does amazingly well is he does these smoke, like these billowing clouds with birds intermixed and smoke and haze, and it looks, I mean, it doesn't look like a comic. It looks like it's amazing. It could easily be a painting, and it's almost, it's almost photorealistic in a way that is not detracting, right? It doesn't feel like fake photorealism. So the other thing that gets introduced in this comic is the notion of a new cop in New York who has come over from Chicago, who's paired with Detective Higgins. The cop is in very good physical shape, and, and has a pretty good set of like reaction speed and combat training. And actually, as this book ends, even though Daredevil kicks him in the solar plexus, the cop is able to pull his pistol and actually hits Matt. Now it looks like he's hit in the shoulder. Matt is down. So there were a couple things, minor things that I wasn't exactly sure were totally the right drumbeat that I would have wanted. This is one of them. I'm like, like literally like 3 issues ago, right? If you bridge across to the last Daredevil run, we just had Daredevil like hit by a truck or whatever, and I'm like, now he's shot and he's down again, and I'm like, too soon. So
Yeah.
so, but it's fine. So and I guess that was, I mean, there was one other thing that kind of bugged me in the issue, just from a storytelling perspective, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I really like the scenes that they're having Matt kind of walk through. There's a scene where he walks through and talks to a nurse, and gets kind of the religious take on it. There's a scene about him kind of getting back on his feet and not wallowing in the self-doubt, like convincing himself through performing, through doing what he does, that no, there's no way that I killed that guy. New York is contending with a fear of him as being a person who now kills. There's a great scene that I really liked, just because it's trading on the Marvel mythology of Luke Cage with his daughter and Jessica Jones, as they look at each other and are questioning whether or not Daredevil is a killer. What did you think? I wanted to ask you, what did you think about the new costume that Chichetto has Daredevil in?
I like it. It's more like a baggy pants. I noticed.
Yeah, it's more
like a military kind of like style.
Yeah. A little more. I mean, I hate to use the term realistic, but it's definitely not just like full blown spandex, right?
Yeah, I noticed that.
It looks like it's a combat, uniform. So
yeah,
so it's pretty cool. So I really love this issue. You get a healthy dose of Matt Murdock in the inner struggle. There's a great opening scene between he and Foggy, and he's kind of walking through. I love Foggy, but I also know Foggy, right? And these are Foggy's limitations. Like, he's not going to believe me. He's going to want me to do it by the book. That's not what I'm going to do. But they still have that friendship. And like I said, the art was just entirely off the chain. At the end of the day, I scored this issue a 9.0, which is a very unusually high score for me. Stephen, any other thoughts on the book, and what did you score this book?
I gave it a 8.5. It's just that the only thing that disappointed me was that Foggy doesn't believe Daredevil. I would thought that he would actually believe him, considering he's been his best friend for years.
My take on Foggy is, this is very much, if you've ever seen A Few Good Men, this is very much like a lawyer who's like, it doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. And I think this is Foggy buying into, look, whatever like we want to think and believe. Here's what the evidence says, and what the court's what a jury's going to see.
Okay.
I don't know. Any other thoughts?
No, there's no other thoughts.
Okay. So why don't you walk us through Batman Beyond number 29?
All right, Batman Beyond number 29 is written by Dan Jurgens. Artist is Brett Booth. Inkers is Norm Rabmud. And colorist is Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters is Travis Lanham. So yeah, with this book, I thought it was okay. I just didn't particularly like it too much. The I know they had some interesting plot points with. I know this is more of the Joker is returning, and what is it? He has Matt McGinnis, which is Terry McGinnis's younger brother. He has him hostage and is kind of doing the whole Jason Todd story. So it's like it's doing the Jason Todd story placed in the Batman Beyond universe. So Joker is on his quest to kill another Robin because Matt McGinnis has become Robin. So in the issue, he doesn't end up killing him. And the Joker they end up stopping him, but the Joker ends up getting a heart attack at the end as he's talking to Bruce Wayne. Yeah, he's talking to Bruce Wayne, and in the middle of in the middle of attacking him, he ends up getting a heart attack. So I just didn't like this story because of the whole Joker getting killed. Because the thing is, we see Bruce Wayne like he's about to like shoot the Joker after he fights him, and he just as he's talking there, Joker ends up getting a heart attack out of nowhere, and it just to me it cheapens the death of the Joker. To me, I just would have liked it to see Bruce Wayne actually get the chance to shoot him because he is tired of his his psychopathic killing type of thing. Like I would like to have seen Bruce Wayne go through the idea of like he's tired of the Joker endangering his family, and this is like so many years in the future. He doesn't need to deal with this right now, and it just seems weird that out of nowhere, at this moment of getting about to get shot by Batman, he automatically not Batman, Bruce Wayne, because I know he's not Batman at this time. So Bruce Wayne and the whole I was just very disappointed when he gets a heart attack on Joker. I mean Joker gets a heart attack from the fight after the fight with Bruce Wayne. So that kind of disappointed me, and the whole they kept playing a suspenseful thing about, oh, is Joker not going to kill Matt McGinnis? And you see that he doesn't. And then it's just like it kept going back and forth between scenes where, like, there's a scene where Joker has Matt McGinnis and he's showing the camera to Bruce Wayne. Yeah, he's showing it on the camera screen for everybody to see on the news to reveal to show that to broadcast that he's killing Matt McGinnis on television. So right when he's gonna uh kill him off, the whole place explodes on fire, and then when Terry McGinnis gets there, he notices that Joker is not there, and it's just like, ah ha ha. You see Joker appear in Bruce Wayne's Batcave, and say, "Oh, that was just a pre-recorded scenery that happened. It wasn't actually live." So it just kind of bothered me that they try to keep the playful suspense of of um of Joker killing Matt McGinnis, and he doesn't actually kill him off. So that whole fire scene in the beginning was just a fake prop, and it just bothered me how they did it that way. So I decided to give this issue a 6.5. It was just a decent issue. It wasn't nothing too fun for me, and I kind of wish they wouldn't play the suspensefulness like that. I mean,
Well, then, since that's your opinion on Batman Beyond, I'm very curious to find out your thoughts on Detective Comics number 999,
oh yeah,
because this is an issue that does another hoodwink and bamboozle and kind of winks at itself in its wittiness, and I struggled with where to land on this one. So why don't you go ahead and talk us through the whole thing?
all right. Detective Comics is the writer is Peter J. Tomasi, artist is Doug Mankey, inkers is Christian Alamy, Keith Champagne, Mark Inwin, and Jamie Mendoza. Colorist is David Barron, and letters is Rob Lay. So yeah, so yeah, the Detective Comics is just the story. It tells you that the whole story of this whole entire story that's been going on since the beginning of Tomasi's run has been all in his head.
Yeah,
I mean, like, isn't a machine that puts a memory thing on his head.
And I didn't go back and look. I want to say that means he's been in the tank since issue 996. I think.
Yes, since the beginning of the story.
It was the first Detective Comics after Dick got shot in the head. So I think. So yeah. So this has been going on for like 4 issues now.
Yeah, and it's just so you find out he fights himself throughout the whole entire issue, and then by the issue's end you find out it was all a fake. It was not reality. It's just a whole virtual reality kind of thing, and it's just the story is just very disappointing because it's like the Daredevil thing, that Daredevil was in a remember the last Daredevil with
the ending of the Charles Soule run, and we had the same discussion and we had the same problem, which is and I'm curious where you land, right? Because I don't know that this is a bad single issue comic, right? If you talk about the story and the art and how well it's written, I struggled with how do I separate my feelings and my emotion that I feel like I've been taken on, or I feel like I've been hustled, right?
Yes.
With how I regard the comic as a single artistic work. I mean, were you able to make any effort to try and decouple yourself, or did it just like make you so angry that you were like?
It really made me angry, to be honest. I hate stories that they put you in the story and it is like they pretend, oh, this story never happened, ha ha ha. Like,
right?
To me, it's like, what is the point of doing the story if it technically never happened?
Right. We hate the unreliable narrator, right? We want to be able to trust in the exposition, but when the exposition just lies to you, then it's a struggle. So how else did you think? I mean, how did you feel about Mankey's art, particularly as he shows the progression? Because one of the sticks in here is that the little boy. I mean, thankfully, so So there was this weird, strange, like small being in a Batman costume that we saw at the end of the first issue.
Yeah.
That looked like a little person. Fortunately, it turned out to actually be a child. But then in this issue, the child like progressively grows up as it's fighting Bruce.
Yeah.
How did you feel about how Monkey rendered that artistically across the multiple panels that being
It
goes
looks
through
kind
there?
of weird because I wasn't sure if it was an artist error because he grows up, but they don't explain to you until later. Like
Yeah,
he's
until like the fourth panel. Like,
yeah, and then I thought it was an artist error, and as I'm reading, I was like, oh no, wait a minute, he is actually growing up
yeah. In fact,
as
I
he's
like stopped
fighting
and made
him.
a note, right? Because I was like, oh, here we go, because I've commented on how I felt that Monkey's art has been inconsistent since this
Yeah,
run started, with like
that's what I thought it was.
bits of the costume that looked different from like panel to panel and things like that. And I was like, oh, here we go again with Monkey's inconsistency. I was like, and then like the very next panel, Bruce was like, "How are you growing up?" Like each like, and oh, okay,
It's like he's forgetting that he's fighting the child version of Bruce Wayne.
right, yeah.
It's just and it just bothers me that the the Leslie Tompkins death means nothing. It was just all visual. It was just all virtual. And it's just like I just don't know how Batman could be mentally prepared for this because if you're going into something knowing that it's a virtual reality, wouldn't you not feel any of these effects that comes in? I don't I don't understand how he would acknowledge that this is a virtual world. I mean, he's not acknowledging that this is a virtual
Yeah,
reality
that's
thing.
the weird thing about the six, right? So the whole supposition is that, I mean, as far as we've seen unfold over the last few issues, is that he doesn't know or understand that he's in this simulation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's. I mean, they have to like be drugging him, I guess, while he's in there. Like he mentioned 2 issues ago in the fight with Pig that that like the last thing he remembered was going after somebody and then blacking out and then like waking up. So it's like it seems like maybe he tells Alfred and Damien like drug me or whatever or something, and like I don't know, but you're right. He's in the simulator and he doesn't know that he's in the simulator until he starts
Yeah.
coming out of it in this issue.
To me, I thought if someone's put in simulation, they already know they're in a simulation. I don't know how would you unless you try to mind wipe the person, but how can you mind wipe them to a certain point? That's even more difficult.
Right. So just to make it clear for all the listeners, right? So in this issue, when you get to the end to the epilogue, actually, so the Leslie Tompkins thing didn't happen. The mortal injury to Alfred didn't happen. All the other things that all these mentors and things that Bruce was chasing around, trying to get to them, all over the world, trying to get to them before one of these, you know, you know combo shapeshifter beings who
Yeah.
were made up of the DNA of like all of Batman's family and his enemies. Never happened. Like so the original Mr. Miracle is still alive. All that stuff. So yeah.
It's just all that I don't know. It could have all this could have led to an interesting story, and for it to not happen makes it worse.
Right. All right. So at the end of the day, what did you wind up scoring this, man?
I gave it a 3. I was just
Oh
so
wow.
frustrated with it. The art is not that bad. It's just the story put me in a position where I didn't like it, and it was just to me it was god awful. I
Yeah.
just didn't enjoy it whatsoever.
So I actually wound up giving it a 7.0, and like I said, I mean, because to me, so interestingly enough, by the way, variant cover, John Byrne, variant cover. So they got that guy coming out of retirement, working again as well. There are some really effective things here, like the little boy Bruce Wayne, straight creepy as heck.
Yeah,
With
he
the
was
way
a
Monkey,
really creepy character.
yeah, with the way Monkey draws him. in a couple of the early panels. The only thing, there's a specific, other than the whole thing about the actual, plot point. I'm trying to think. There's one specific. Actually, I thought there were a couple of drum beats of a couple pages that I kind of fell off and like didn't feel. But I mean, really, the epilogue. I mean, again, if you isolate, like to me, the epilogue is great. The whole thing of like Bruce, like Batman burying Bruce Wayne, burying the child Bruce Wayne, right? That essentially, philosophically they say, was killed that same night with his parents, and then the platform rise, and the whole thing about like the metrics of like the homicides in Gotham, how he asked the computer how many homicides there were, and I think there was like 184, and like the year before was 214, and the year before that it was 247. Yeah, I think that's the drum beat that I didn't like. Then at the I'm like, this is great, like this is really written well, and then it gets to the end, and Batman says, 1 year soon it will be 0. I'm like, Bruce, like no matter how good you get, you're never going to get homicides in Gotham down to 0.
It's just, I don't know. It's just a psychopathic view of
right. But
I'm just trying to erase crime. There's no way you're gonna erase crime, Batman. If you have that assumption, something is really, really, really wrong with you. You don't need to be a superhero. You need to get some medical help.
But really, I mean, other than that, I really think the book, and I don't entirely dislike or disagree with the setup that, hey, once a year, I basically program like the holodeck, right, to present to me like the greatest challenge that I could ever possibly have to face. And each year, like the computer changes it up, and each year, like that simulation kind of prepares me for whatever, like psychologically prepares me for whatever is coming, and concurrently pushes me to like better myself physically as well in my training regimen once I get out of it. That's not that bad a thing. The bad thing about it is that they expended 4 issues like pulling the wool over our eyes. Like it would have been completely good if they had taken this scene and put it in issue 996, and then we would have had 3 issues like seeing what he was going through in the simulator. But they did it the other way around, and you feel like you've been mugged and somebody's stolen your wallet, when you get the real this way. So.
I feel like I wasted my money on these books.
Yeah.
Because I was only liking I really liked the first 2 issues, and then it just started. The storytelling started deteriorating after that.
But it's an interesting thing. I think like even like getting like a month or 2 months down the road and rethinking this, because remember when we read the Pig issue, right? And we were like, man, there's something nagging me in the back of my head that's telling me something is off with this, right?
Yeah.
That's a worthwhile experience to have gone through, but yeah, I don't know. I think unfortunately, I think this was a thing that was going to happen, and Tomasi and Snyder and Tina, like all the guys who were at this Batman desk who were putting all this stuff together architecturally had to know, right? Like this is initially going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So, yeah, it's a very interesting play. Particularly with all the things that are going on. The big problem for me, maybe the bigger problem for me, is now as I walk away from this, I'm like, wait, so none of this really happened. Now I'm trying to like untangle in my mind, but wait a minute, what happened in Detective but the stuff in Batman is real, and there's some stuff going on over there that Tom King is unpacking, and I'm like, I really honestly,
I think this has just happened in Batman's one day of his life.
No, I know, but without going back and looking at the issues, like I can't get straight in my head what has happened in Batman that's real versus what happened in Detective that was unreal. I mean, I know that everything that happened in Detective wasn't real. I'm just saying it's 2 or 3 months worth of comics, and without like walking through all those back issues, I don't have straight in my head like what the status quo is right now and what challenge is actually in front of Batman. The other thing that I didn't like about this, from a marketing and branding perspective, is this comic is titled The Price You Pay, which is what's been going on, which is the title, the higher level title of the thing that's been going on with the Flash and Batman in the Batman comic.
Yeah.
But this the price you pay has nothing whatsoever to do with that storyline. So they're titled the same. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay,
And what
go
else
ahead.
I was gonna say something.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I just and I noticed I don't have to worry about Hugo Strange being alive again because that was not real. So yeah, this yeah, the plot holes I don't have to worry about. I just kind of wish that the killer of the story could have been like a person who dressed up in a Zorro mask because it kind of plays homage to what Batman is, and I mean what Batman is based off of and has influences of, and he saw Zorro in the movie theater, so it could have been cool if this whole entire story was a person who was studying Batman and became obsessed with Batman and figured out who he is. Like if it was a Tim Drake kind of thing, but and he ends up being a villain. So it would have been interesting to play it out like that, but they went with this whole weird, not real story. So yeah, that's it. That's about it. I don't want to talk about it.
So, so the next one you did want to talk about, as I mentioned, was the Flash number 65. Actually subtitled "The Price of Loyalty." So very close
Yeah,
to the same title, but not exactly the same. A Batman Flash crossover event. So you want to talk us through this one?
yeah. This one is Flash number 65. The writer is Joshua Williamson. Artist is Rafa Sendova. Inker is Jordi Tarragona. Colorist is Tomei Moray. And the letters is Steve Wans. So this issue it deals with Flash and Batman investigating how Gotham Girl has been erased. They've been doing some detective work on her, how she's been feeling in Sanctuary, and how she's gotten this venom thing because in the story she gets a venom, and you see Batman and Flash fight her and they wake her up from it, and they get into an argument and they able to recover Gotham Girl. They put her in some stasis tube on the story. So yeah, I thought this was a very interesting story. I really enjoyed it. I had more fun with this story than I did with Detective Comics. And I really love the conflict between Batman and the Flash because it really reveals what Batman's flaws are because he it's just a really good argument with the character, and I loved how the he just Batman is obsessed with putting these people to become superheroes, and he never thinks about the consequences of making letting these people become superheroes. He wish he would stop it, and I can see Flash's point of view, and I can also see Batman's point of view, and it's interesting that you can agree with both of them and disagree with both of them. It's like you can see the all sides of the viewpoints, and it's pretty interesting how you can see why Flash will argue with Batman. It's not something that would. It's a really good drama. And I really find that I really like it when a comic book gets into the drama and it's there's a reason for the drama and it makes the story better. I think for me, I really like it when the drama makes sense and it challenges the characters to think in different perspectives. And I even liked Iris's point when she was talking to Batman and she showed her overprotective character that she has, and I can see that she probably that she would slap Batman like that in the book. I thought that was pretty interesting that she get into that mode. The only thing that disappointed me with this book was that at the end that Iris breaks up with Barry again. It's just that story has been playing off numerous times throughout Joshua Williams's run. It's just like they get together, then what is it? Flash reveals he reveals his identity to her. She breaks up with him. Then she goes back with him after she realizes, oh, it's not worth, leaving him because he lied to her about the identity. Maybe she decides to give him a chance. So she goes back with him, and then this whole entire thing with Wally West dying, and it's just this conflict with Gotham Girl. All of a sudden, she breaks up with him again, and it's like, come on, Iris, this is not the right time to break up with him because he's dealing with grief, and I don't know. It's usually not the right time to break up with somebody when they're dealing with grief of someone that they care for, especially someone that's your relative. I just feel like you're making it worse for him. You're not making it any better for him by breaking up with him. It's just you're making the relationship between, because I know they're gonna still interact with each other. It's just that, yeah, their relationship, even as like maybe as friends, would even make it worse. It's just it just increases the drama, and I don't think they need to increase the drama for Barry and Iris that way, because he already has the drama of dealing with the after effects of Wally dying in the sanctuary. He doesn't need another one to be added.
So probably one of the biggest deals in the book is, much like we had with Detective Comics number 999, we get an epilogue in this, and in the epilogue we get several reveals. How did you feel about that? Those, and it's only like it's like 2 pages, but so much is said within the confines of those 2 pages. What did you think about those?
I forgot what was revealed in there. Trying to look at it.
So in these pages, it snaps back to Bruce in the Batcave, and he's looking on the Bat computer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know that. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. He's the yeah. You see the reveal was that maybe what is it? Barry is the one that they think that Barry is the one that probably caused Sanctuary to happen.
I don't know. So this is part of the. I mean, I like these 2. I love the intrigue of these 2 pages, and I love the crossover and the interactivity between this and clearly some other storyline. I don't know which storyline this crosses over into. I don't know if this is Heroes in Crisis. I don't know if this is Doomsday Clock. I don't know what thing this intersects with. I don't know if it's a new story that's coming down the pike, because Snyder on Twitter keeps referring to the fact that really, as we're watching all of these events and things unfold, that even then these are all things walking up to some bigger issue. So
it's just because you see it as tying into Heroes in Crisis, but it says this mystery deepens and DC's You're the Villain, which is something else.
Which is a new thing, right? That's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily even know that this ties into Heroes in Crisis. Because Bruce, in this alludes to the notion that somebody is, manipulating heroes. He says, you don't know him like I do, which normally would normally seem to be a reference to the Joker, but this is somebody who's clearly interacting with heroes, because he later goes on and says that he could have gotten to anyone and turned them. So that's not the Joker, because the Joker, I mean, as bad as the Joker is, he is not a veiled, disguised threat. Like, you can see him coming like a mile away because of his mutation. I wonder if this is but Batman wouldn't be the one who knows this guy that well. But I wonder. But the way it reads, it sounds like it could be like a Maxwell Lord kind of thing.
Yeah,
Somebody
I
who has the capability of like getting people's minds and turn them to do what he wants them to do.
I just can't see Barry doing that. I don't know how would they even. I maybe Barry's not. I think it's like a way to you to think that it's Barry, but then they do a plot twist by the end of this mystery that they're gonna resolve maybe in some issue in the some book in the future.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
So what did you wind up scoring this book in the end?
I gave this a 8.0.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.0. I really thought this was an interesting story. I really enjoyed it, and I like the art too. The art that Rafa does in this book is very well done. I even like how he puts the characters' face expressions when they're arguing. It really works really well.
Okay.
So I actually enjoyed this book a lot. It was real fun.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.5, so it was just out of remarkable, remarkable or above territory for me. But it was still, I enjoyed reading it. It was a good, solid comic. The last thing we're going to talk about in the review segment is the Terrifics number 13. Storytellers Joe Bennett and Jeff Lemire, inker Dexter Vines, colors Mike Spicer, letterer Tom Napolitano. And I'm guessing the split, it says Joe Bennett and Jeff Lemire. I believe this is Jeff Lemire writing. And then Joe Bennett, who is currently also the artist on The Immortal Hulk. I believe this is him on art. Even though Lemire is also an artist and could very well be drawing this book on his own, but I think this is Bennett doing the art. So this is the continuing story of Mr. Terrific stranded in other Earths across the multiverse. Specifically, he is on Earth number 23 right now. And when last we checked on him, he was in the clutches of Java or Dr. Dread and his anti-Terrifics, Metal Morpho, Phantom Boy, and Plasma Man, who is a rubber vampire, basically. And this is kind of the culminating getting the band back together issue. In the previous issue, we saw Phantom Girl, who was the most reluctant member of the Terrifics in this run, actually be the one who comes back to Terrific Tower and sends out the distress signal summoning the other members of the team. There's a great kind of reassembling the team kind of scene here when you can see Phantom Girl get up and put the T symbol, the team T symbol for the Terrifics on her belt. And then Plastic Man shows up and has it prominently displayed on his costume as well. Of course, one of the other backstories that's been going along in this plot is that Plastic Man has reached out and started to try to build a relationship with his son, who also has plastic morphing powers, brings him along for this adventure. And there's immediate chemistry between that kid and Phantom Girl, which I thought was very interesting and well written in how it's played out. As part of the look ahead, when this book ends, they give us the cover for the next issue, and it was very cool. It was very cool to see that Plastic Man's son clearly joins the team. Again, if the cover is to be believed, and often they pull the bamboozle on us with the cover, but they have his son in costume participating as a full-fledged member of the Terrific. So I'm pretty keen and interested to see how that unfolds. Probably the best and most interesting aspect of this issue is that Mr. Terrific's wife, Paula, is actually alive on this Earth. And on that one, it's her husband who died, and she became, I guess, Miss or Mrs. Terrific. So she shows up to save Mr. Terrific, and then uses her T-Spears, which apparently have an ability to hop dimensions in the multiverse. And there's a neat screen hopping sequence in here where they just hop because they're being chased by Java across these multiverses. He's hot on their heels. Feels very much kind of like a Legends of Tomorrow kind of sequence. But they rapidly transit, from Earth 23 to 19 to 5, 8, 29, 12, and 30. And as we've talked about a lot of comics and characters tonight, one of those Earths has, I guess, what is the Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond on them. they cut through one of the Earths that is the Bizarro Earth, where everybody is kind of a Bizarro, and our Bizarro that we know of um, is is a hero. One of the things that I thought was interesting is they now reference like the main Earth as Earth Zero, which I guess was a new designation coming out of I guess Convergence a few years ago, because it
I
used
don't
to.
know. It was I seen the destination a long time ago. I don't know when particularly, but I've seen that destination a while ago.
Yeah, I think this was a thing where if this is a Crisis on Infinite Earths thing where they retracted back and like tried to get rid of the multiverses. And like I said, I think it was Convergence, where supposedly they were collapsing back down to like the one Earth. And instead of having it go back to Earth 1, it became redesignated Earth 0. So that was just an interesting tidbit in there as well. But I really thought this book was really well done. I loved the writing about the relationship between our Mr. Terrific and Miss Terrific, and them, kind of the bit that Lemire plays with about whether are these two characters now like separated across dimensions now going to finally find each other across these multiverses and get back together. So I thought it was fairly interesting. At the end of the day, I scored this issue at 8.5, and was particularly happy with it. It was one of my top issues that I read this week. After having felt like the Terrifics in general was kind of an average to above average book issue after issue that just really wasn't finding the iron it needed to strike to really catapult itself up above that remarkable line. So, Stephen, did you read this issue? Did you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I gave it an 8.0 as well. I really enjoyed it too. Like I was wondering if they're gonna have Mr. and Mrs. Terrific together, and yeah, I wonder if she's gonna join the team and be like the Sue Richards of the Fantastic Four. Yeah, for the Terrifics. I know Phantom Girl is supposed to be the I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah,
I wonder if she. I was thinking she's gonna be the Sue Richards, but to me, I see that this this version of Mr. Terrific, Miss Terrific would actually be like the Sue Richards of that team. And
yeah,
I do like seeing the relationship between Plastic Man and his son, and I like to seeing his son interacting with Phantom Girl. It was a very fun book. I enjoyed it.
yeah. It was a good time. So let's go ahead and talk about the best things we each read this week. For me, it was pretty easy. Slam dunk. Daredevil #2 was the top rated book that I read. We talked about it in detail, so there's no need to go over it anymore. Stephen, your pick is actually another comic that I also read, and I did not score it as highly, but it was definitely up there in the slice of comics that came in for me as a 7.5. So why don't you talk us through what you
All
picked for your
right.
best read?
It's Sideways #13. Writer is Dan Dio. Artist is Kenneth Rocafort. Colorist is Dan Brown, and letters is Travis Lanham. So this book is the final issue of the series, and I really did enjoy this one the most because it had a very interesting story where where they find out who killed Sideways' mother. I mean, yeah, who they kill how they killed Sideways' mother, and you find out is a ordinary person. It's a person who's just a coworker that worked for his mother, and it's just it's just pretty interesting that we see her get we find out the story was that she just wanted to get a promotion, and she didn't get a promotion for the job, and in that frustration of of not getting a promotion, she ends up killing Sideways' mother. So it's just interesting how this character had to had to do that, and it kind of the character is Sandy Bridwell, yeah. So it puts a very interesting story. Like it's kind of like the Spider-Man story where and I know Sideways plays a lot of similarities with Spider-Man, and I think it's done intentionally. So they decided to make it that this like if the person who killed Uncle Ben was just a regular burglar, so they made it that it was the person who killed Sideways' mother was just um was just a regular person who worked for his mother. So I like the story that was told there, and I also like that they kind of left the story for you to think of. Like we don't know if I mean Sideways, if he doesn't, we don't know if he ends up killing the person who kills his mother. It's kind of left up to the viewer to think if he killed her or not, because it um yeah, he talks to her and he says that I'm the guy that just sending you off, and it just fades to black and you don't know what happens. The next day is just it's just him talking to his best friend. So it kind of, and the thing is, he acts totally normal. He acts like nothing's going on. And I think if he actually did kill her, it would kind of put a different story perspective. If maybe what happens if the effects of revenge puts him in a different light? Does it really change his character, or does it not change his character? It leaves it up to you, and I find that very interesting. I like that viewpoint. And the only thing that really bothered me in this story, is just that when it came to like Derek talking to his mother, and his adoptive father is there, and they just talking to the mother, and I just wish that the character was not. I don't mind the character speaking in Spanish, but it's just that they could have translated that. They didn't have to, like, they could have just put like those um those parentheses that say that it's
Right.
translated in Spanish,
Yeah, like the
but
greater than, less than signs.
yeah,
Yeah.
that they is actually in English, because my Spanish is not really that well.
Right. Right.
I'm raised in America. My parents didn't really sadly they didn't really teach me Spanish, so they taught me English, and my Spanish is not very well, so I had to like I didn't want to bother putting the whole entire paragraphs, because it was like two or three, four paragraphs of her talking,
Right.
and it's just I didn't want to put all of that I didn't want to put my time on figuring out what she's saying in there, and I had to put the words that I did know and put the pieces together and figure out what she is saying. And it's just it bothers me that there's one important plot point, because there's one translation I didn't get, and it's just that she tells him that his father is a is a deadbeat, and that's a very important plot point for maybe his future, whatever book that he appears in. He has trouble about that his dad have not never been there for him. I know it's a stereotype for Hispanic people, and it happened to my life. So yeah, one of those stereotypes. But yeah, but it's just that it's just it's just I think that if it's something important, then they should just translate it, because if it's important plot points to be translated, it shouldn't be left to the person not knowing what that is. And it's just I'm not sure if Daredevil realizes, but not everyone in this country could speak English and Spanish. So try to be a little bit more, I guess, concerning of that. Maybe you should put this in English and say that put in those less than or greater than parentheses, saying that she's speaking in Spanish, so we can know so the people can know what she's saying, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's just, it really bothers me when they don't translate these things, and I have to figure out myself. Reading a comic book shouldn't be work. That's why I don't like this type of idea on that front. So
Right.
yeah, that's
And
a. Oh, they just say something, but yeah, that's about it. I gave this issue a 8.5. I really enjoyed it, and the artwork was pretty normal. It wasn't really that interesting, but it's not bad. It's a simple art for me.
yeah.
Nothing spectacular. So yeah, I enjoyed that issue. That's about it.
Okay, and why don't you go ahead and run us through your list of honorable mentions then?
All right. My honorable mentions is what is it? Yeah, just gotta look for is Star Wars Dot the Offer number 29. I gave it an 8.0. Shazam number 3, I gave it an 8.0, and Freedom Fighters number 3, I gave it an 8.5. So that's it.
Okay, and for me, my honorable mentions this week. So it was a pretty tight race for what was going to be the best read, because I got to Daredevil very late in my stack, and it looked like it was going to be the war of the 8.5s this week. But again, then Daredevil landed and kind of ate everybody's lunch. But up until then, I was strongly looking at Superior Spider-Man number 3 as potentially my best read, or the Terrifics number 13. At the end of the day, I rated both of those comics an 8.5, and then, like I said, then along came Daredevil. So, Steven, go ahead and run us down your pulls for next week.
All right. My pulls is Adventures of Super Sons number 8, Age of X-Men, Prisoner X number 1, Black Order number 5, which is the final issue, Champions number 3, Cosmic Ghost Fighter Destroys Marvel History number 1, The Curse of Brimstone number 12, which is another final issue, Deathstroke number 41, Domino Hot Shots number 1, Doomsday Clock number 9, The Dreaming number 7, Green Arrow number 50 is another final issue, Justice League number 19, Meet the Scrolls number 1, Star Wars number 62, Star Wars Vader Dark Visions number 1, Suicide Squad Black Files number 5, The Walking Dead number 189, Young Justice number 3, and Ziggy Pig and Silly Seal Comics number 1, which is from Marvel. It's one of those 50s comic books back then.
Very cool. For me on pulls this week, I will be picking up Batman number 66, Deadpool number 10, Immortal Hulk number 14, Justice League number 19, Star Wars number 62, Deathstroke number 41, Green Arrow number 50. I'm going to check out a couple Danger Zone comics, Aberrant number 5, and Gun Cats number 3. I'll also be picking up Champions number 3, as well as Star Wars Vader Dark Visions number 1. And then I'm going to check out Black Hammer 45, number 1 by Dark Horse, Meet the Scrolls number 1, and Doomsday Clock number 9. So, Steven, unless you have anything else, that's going to do it for us for tonight.
No, that's going to do it for me too.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, everybody who happened to join in on the live show. If you missed the live show, you will always be able to come back here and check out the archive version, which should be up. If not tonight, then hopefully by tomorrow morning. And you can always come back and view the archive version of this video on YouTube as well. So until next time, thank you, Steven.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And on behalf of the E2KG Network and myself, Agasicles, Stamas, that's going to do it for us. This has been What's Your Issue, episode number 21. We will be back next Monday with issue number 20. Episode number 22 to talk about the books that ship this week, the 6th of March on Wednesday. So until then, take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, and good hunting. That's going to do it for us. We're out.